Hello and welcome. This video will provide information about the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefit Fund's single unit housing project requirements. My name is Chris Gruba. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the program manager for the single unit housing program. I'm here today with our team, with Sarah Nwama, who will talk about our new construction requirements, and Seth Lowe, who will provide application tips and more information about the application process. So this video is intended for applicants to help you understand what our requirements are for single unit housing projects, but also may be helpful for folks once they've already been accepted into the program. So when we talk about single unit housing, what do we include in that? It's broad. We include homes. We include townhomes. So sometimes it could be 30 townhomes. We include care homes. We include like little cottage clusters that you might see on some of the infill lots in Portland. We include duplex, triplex, and quads as well. Single unit housing home energy projects can include whole home energy retrofits, limited measure above code projects, rooftop solar and storage, net zero projects, and then also new home construction above code projects. I'll start out by talking about our home energy retrofit requirements. Our home energy retrofit requirements include requirements for a home assessment and energy modeling for each project. We have requirements for contractor credentialing. We have a quality assurance process, and we also have guidance docs that will guide you on the installation and measures that can be installed. Our approach to home energy retrofits takes a building science approach. This is an approach where we look at the house as a system, where you make a change to one area of the house and it impacts other areas of the house as well. So we look at the interaction of all the systems that are installed in the home. Contractors working on the projects need to have BPI certification. That's Building Analyst Professional certification. They do a diagnostic testing on the homes, such as doing a blower door test or testing for combustion safety, etc. And they will also enter the project into SnugPro, an energy modeling program that can be used to estimate energy savings, but also provide the project scope of work. One more thing about the whole house approach, and the reason why we use this approach is because it provides extra supports for the health and safety of the occupants of the home. Very, very important. As you change one aspect and it impacts another aspect of the home, there's unintended consequences that could result from that. So we want to make sure that we're doing this very thoughtfully and very carefully to protect the occupants. We're also wanting to make sure that we are protecting their utility bills as much as possible. So our home retrofit requirements, you can find them on our PCEF website, the Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Resources page. You'll find eligible measures and our installation checklist, as well as information about how to use SnugPro. We will also provide one-on-one support for SnugPro as well. So our eligible measures, we include anything related to the envelope of the home, air sealing, insulation of the attic, crawl space, walls, etc. We also include heat pumps, high efficiency heat pumps. We won't install any gas in any of our projects. So heat pumps are what you're looking at. In many of our projects, folks will be changing from a gas furnace over to a heat pump. In these cases, the ducting system will also need to be addressed. One note there, we don't require that people switch over from their gas furnace. They can keep it if they want to. We just simply won't replace it. For water heating, we're installing heat pump water heaters. And we include windows and doors and appliances as eligible measures, but those are not included quite as often. They don't have quite the impact, and sometimes they can raise the cost of a project without providing the benefits that we're looking for. Our projects also include up to 30% for deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance is a reality for many homes, and many of the clients that we're serving come from income qualifying households, low-income households. So you might find things like knob and tube wiring, there may be moisture issues, there may be asbestos or pests in the home. Those things are all included in this 30% portion of the budget that may be spent on critical repairs, non-energy saving critical repairs, those that are required in order to do the project. You often don't have a lot of choice about what is included in that 30%. The house itself will tell you what needs to be done. A couple more things to point out. I mentioned that we won't fund any gas. These projects will be fully electric, or what we pay for will be only electric. Projects should reduce household utility bills. And a couple of things that we have built into our requirements to help support the reduction of utility bills. One, we ask that contractors provide heat load calculations on all of their HVAC installations, that they provide diagnostic testing on the homes. I mentioned the blower door test and a few other things. And that the envelope be prioritized before things like, and that's insulation, air sealing, before things like windows or even heating systems. One thing, we will not pay for standalone windows or air conditioning or appliances. Here's an example of a project budget. You can see here the items in blue. Those were the critical repair items that needed to be included. And this is really just a sample possible budget. It's every home will vary quite a bit. But you can see that the critical repair does not exceed 30% of the project total. For our quality assurance process, we work with Earth Advantage. That our quality assurance provider does a really beautiful job providing a very collaborative and educational approach. They will start by reviewing the scope of work. So the contractor, after they enter everything into SnugPro, will they'll also enter their scope of work, their proposed project into SnugPro, and the quality assurance provider will review that and approve it before the work begins. They'll ask any questions or provide any feedback that they may have to share with you. And then once you've got that approval, you go ahead and complete the project. And at the end of the project, they will provide a site inspection. We have workforce and contractor equity requirements. The first is that every worker on a PCEF funded project will be paid 180% of BOLI minimum wage. That's currently $29.34. That changes every year on July 1st. It seems like it goes up maybe about 3 to 4%, but it varies from year to year. So you need to calculate that in to your budget. We ask that all of our grantees, or all of our grantees provide us with quarterly reporting. And in this quarterly reporting, we ask for a fair amount. We ask for information on your organization. We also ask for information on your contractors, subcontractors, and all of their workers. So we want to know what everybody's paid. And so we can make sure that the PCEF requirements are being met. We also have safe and respectful job site components that we ask you to participate with. One is we have training that everybody needs to go through, and we ask that you create a safe and respectful policy for your organization, and that you ask your contractors to do the same thing. Before I end on the home retrofit section, I want to talk about another program that is out there. So PCEF funds things through two different pathways. One, through our community grants, and those are projects that are designed and implemented by community-led nonprofits. We also have another, those are the folks that are applying for grants, probably you. Another pathway is our strategic programs, and these programs are designed by PCEF with a lot of community input, but they are designed by PCEF and they're implemented through partnerships that the city engages in through solicitation. So one of those programs is what we call our strategic program number 3, energy, clean energy in single family homes. This is a program that is now active and live. It's got its own name called Energy Friendly Homes, and it will be doing 3,100 home energy retrofits for over 5 years, serving low and moderate income households, homeowners, and renters, and follows all the PCEF requirements. This is an option that you have for sharing with your communities. And it's also something to be aware of if you're creating your own home energy retrofit program. And there's a QR code, or you can go to their website, info@energyfriendlyhomes.com. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah Nwama, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Sarah Nwama, and I am a project manager on the single unit housing team here at PCEF. Next slide, please, Chris. Okay, I'm going to talk just a little bit about our new construction process, but also get into some net zero things as well down the line, as well as some things to consider. So for now, focusing on new construction projects, and most of these also apply to net zero. Net zero just needs a little bit more, little extra considerations. But the following are some higher level requirements for new homes to be eligible for PCEF funds. The homes and the projects must participate in an above code program. So that just means to, oh, Chris, you have the presentation. Okay, thank you. So the home needs to go through an above code program. That just means that it needs to meet or exceed the minimum requirements in the Oregon Energy Code. And you can do this by participating in a couple of the things below here. So you can do the state reach code, the above code utility programs that exist here. Examples would be Energy Trust of Oregon's new EPS new construction program. That's their energy performance score program. And then there's also certification programs as well that are above code, and that would be like Earth Advantage, the Zero Energy Ready programs, Energy Star, LEED. Those are all examples of some certifications as well that utilize above code requirements anyway. And so these pathways will help you just kind of sort out the things that need to kind of be implemented in these above code projects. And like Chris mentioned, you'll want to have the eligible measures, the EERE, energy efficiency and renewable energy document, and just have that handy and go through that thoroughly. That'll help kind of outline some of the information on installation guidance for things like heat pumps or air sealing and things like that. Most of the programs here, they offer pathways that are super similar with their expectations. They're just not all necessarily the same. And so, for example, our heat pump requirements go a little bit deeper than some other programs. And we really just want to make sure that you're set up for success and that the projects and the feasibility and all of the savings are really set up to succeed there. So our net zero process, just to set the stage here, to define net zero and how PCEF thinks about it. These are projects that install renewables, in this case like solar, that generate as much electricity as the building uses annually. So these funds are only available for new construction projects. And in the following couple of slides, I will just go into a little bit more depth of what these things mean. So identifying pathways for net zero early on is important. That is one of the things that I'm really going to hound in this presentation today. Things like the HVAC design and load calcs are required, and I'll get into that a little bit here in one of the following bullets. But these things really should be designed and considered in that design phase of the project, that initial phase. And so there also are incentives outside of PCEF that are kind of geared towards facilitating these meetings with as many trades as you can get in the room as possible, just to understand what impact everybody has on the project and the goals, and just being able to sit with that design phase and be able to work well together. So some of these requirements are that the projects must be all electric. The solar array must be sized to match the whole building's energy use, the predicted energy use, and demonstrating some of these by completing one of the following pathways. So you have some of these modeling platforms like RumRate and Energy Plus, and these are really helpful to be able to predict that energy use and then size accurately your solar array. There are the programs like Earth Advantage's Zero Energy certification, or even the Living Building Challenge certification that can also really help demonstrate some of these pathways as well for you to utilize. And then, of course, the Energy Trust of Oregon's EPS Net Zero program, as well as one of those programs specifically geared towards making sure these project requirements are met. So PCEF will pay up to 25% of the total cost of what's actually been billed for these projects. And that is also up to $150,000 capped at each unit. Whatever the lesser of the two of those is what can be applied to the PCEF funding for net zero projects. Some of the eligible costs are outlined here below. That could be anything from design to systems development, materials and whatnot that go into the total building costs, and even things like the project management fees to make sure that this project worked out well. There are some things that are a little bit more common than others that are examples of net zero constraints. And so some of this might be, something that you can just nip in the butt really, really, really early. And that could be, some of these things listed here. It's really important, again, to design to this project before applying. It really, PCEF encourages thorough project planning and advances of applying for net zero funding projects, just to really make sure that it's actually feasible and the design can actually meet net zero standards. So some of these issues could be things like the solar doesn't offset the usage, electricity, maybe the use was not accurately modeled, and so that might contribute to the solar array being a little smaller than it needs to. Perhaps the HVAC is a little oversized. Roof issues can be orientation, that can be obstructions from chimneys or shading and whatnot. Trees and dormers are something to really keep in mind. Those can be solar killers. And then sometimes people will try to take a design and make that net zero, and it's just a little more complicated to do something like that. So we really try to make sure that that design is going to be able to hold up to the net zero requirements. Having your architect actually design for things like water heaters might be something that you want to consider early on as well. So some things to consider, permitting and design can hold up a project, that can maybe not be pulled in time or left open and really delay some things. Making sure that the design actually works, like I kind of mentioned earlier, and very early on have that in the back of your mind. If you're trying to do net zero, just keep these little details in mind, and working with a verifier pretty early on actually will help keep some of these like ducks in a row for you. Also making sure that the system size for mechanicals is appropriate. If a system is too big, that might lead to occupant discomfort, and it might also just nix all of the energy savings as well. And just keeping track of systems that might be a little problematic for the design. So some notes on the meat of the funding for net zero projects. These projects are PCEF is only going to be able to reimburse when the grant agreement is enacted and signed and confirmed. So that would be the eligible grant period. Any work that's happening before that is not going to be able to make the cut in terms of what is an eligible reimbursement. So just keeping that in mind with project planning and timelines and whatnot. Projects also, like kind of Chris mentioned earlier, projects are going to need to submit some quarterly reporting. That's going to be on the contractor and workforce side, as well as the invoices for the total project expenses paid. And the next slide here is an example of what an invoice might look like with that 25% cost that PCEF will fund. So taking that total project fee and just multiplying that by 0.25 will give the amount that PCEF will fund. And it's just one important note here that we will pay up to that full cost for energy measures, but it's after any other leverage or incentives have been applied and deducted to that project. All right, some solar notes are in the next few slides here. So PCEF funds a variety of solar things going on here. We are going to focus today on these first three that are relevant to the single unit home. So that's going to be the rooftop solar, the battery storage for the projects as well, and then of course the net zero considerations with solar as well. So PCEF has a couple considerations for solar and storage projects. That is going to be the community benefit. So these need to, like Chris mentioned earlier as well, these projects really need to be focused on reducing the household bills for community members. So making sure that is demonstrated, as well as the aspect of resilience and the fact that we want to make sure that folks are have energy in an emergency. Another requirement here is going to be the manufacturing considerations, and this is that the solar systems predominantly need to be manufactured in the United States. If there is an issue or constraint, such as the actual item itself is unavailable or the project cost to try to get that is prohibited, then we can definitely talk to your project manager about it, and we can figure out a solution there. One note as well about the batteries is that we don't fund batteries alone, but we can fund them when they're installed with the rest of the solar system. Last thing here for me is the solar quality assurance. These are going to follow really, really closely with some things that are already really well aligned with the PCEF protocols here. So that, for example, is going to be Energy Trust's verification process. They have a letter, a confirmation letter that we will accept as this quality assurance, as we know that you've gone through the pathway and you've made sure the feasibility and whatnot of the project is appropriate. There's other verifications that'll go out during scope review. This will be really fleshed out and worked on in a collaborative aspect with our quality assurance folks when the time comes for the scope review and onboarding. And that is all for me. I'm going to hand it over to Seth to talk to you all about your applications.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Hey,
Yeah, hello,
Seth.